As we mentioned, the major news story that is going to affect lawmakers and officials all across this country started in Minnesota this morning. ICE operations, we're told, have stopped there in that state. They have decided to pull back after there had a lot of controversy. Of course, there are two fatal shootings involving protesters. And now Tom Homan, who's the director of immigration enforcement in the United States, he was sent in essentially to clean up what has happened there. And he says that the operation is over. It had been a total success. That's what he's saying now as they end some of those operations. Let's bring in Robert Moses. Robert, because this is, I'm kind of going through it just as I got it. This happened just a little while ago. What are we hearing about what happened? White House border czar Tom Homan announcing the end of the federal immigration enforcement surge, specifically in Minnesota, right? Okay, so what do we got?
So this is Operation Metro Surge. It started back in December. And you'll remember that late in January, the president sent in his border czar, Tom Homan, to kind of de-escalate the situation, to cool down the temperature.
After those two fatal shootings.
After the two fatal shootings of the American citizens, Renee Good and then Alex Preddy. The administration is declaring victory of sorts. Tom Homan this morning said that as a result of the efforts, Minnesota is now less of a sanctuary state for criminals. More than 4,000 people have been arrested, although we're hearing that a good many of those who had been detained have no criminal history.
Criminal history, okay.
So, you know, I think the divide here has always been the president, as he campaigned, said that he wanted to go after the worst of the worst. And a lot of the people who have been swept up in these immigration raids are not the worst of the worst.
And that has led to a lot of these protests, which then led to these two fatal shootings. So let's hear from Tom Homan. Made this announcement early this morning. We have a couple different pieces of his interview that he did there from his press conference. Do we have number 4? Has that downloaded yet? Okay, number 4 hasn't downloaded. Let's start with number 1.
I'm very pleased to report that this surge operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals, as well as our efforts to address issues of a concern here on the ground, have yielded the successful results we have came here for. The Twin Cities and Minnesota in general are and will continue to be much safer for the communities here because of what we have accomplished under President Trump's leadership. I previously shared with you before I got here. Before I even got here, I met with, I said I was going to meet with the governor, the AG, and the Mayor Fry, Mayor Herr, and I've done all of that. I've also met with various police chiefs and sheriffs. And one thing we all had in common was the importance of ensuring and maintaining public safety. Overall, we made a lot of progress through extensive engagement, meeting with them and other key stakeholders. And it is expected that those engagements and discussions will continue going forward in order to enhance exchange of information and more coordination. As a result of this surge operation, we have greatly reduced the number of targets for enforcement action. And many criminal aliens have been arrested and taken off the streets, including murderers, sex offenders, national security threats, gang members, and other violent criminals.
All right, so you heard him say,
I'm very pleased
you heard
to
him there
report
saying some of the justifications for why they were there in the first place, as they have decided that they are going to stop the surge of immigration officers in Minnesota. One more point you wanted to make, Robert?
Yeah, I think it's important that we note that even though the surge is ending, it's not as if the federal presence there is going to end, because as far as we can tell, at last check, there will still be 2,300 or so federal officers in Minnesota doing immigration enforcement. This surge just added something like 700 to that number. So there's still a presence there.
Right.
It's not like the federal government is going home. But I think the deaths of those two American citizens really turned the tide against this surge and pretty much forced the president's hand.
And certainly it's an issue that we're still seeing all across the country. I wanted to go, it's something that we just saw here pop up. It's ELC1. This is, I believe, out of Washington, D.C. These are these are advocates who are advocating for ICE out. So certainly there is still emotions on both sides of this issue. Let's just listen into what these demonstrators are saying down there right now.
to standing up against the federal government. Even today, there's organizations that are helping with mutual aid, community safety, collective care, and we protect each other because history taught us that we had to. I can speak even from my own legal observer work in Minneapolis of being threatened several times by ICE agents that they would arrest me, that they would break my windows if I continued to record them legally on my phone. I want to name what is happening.
All right, so you're hearing there from some of the advocates still saying that the immigration enforcement operations, not just in Minnesota, but all across the country, have gone too far. Robert, before make the last point there, we do have the official statement from Tom Homan, the border czar, calling for the end of this surge. Let's listen to that. This is SOT 4.
Safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement. I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to the duty station or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that. We will continue to enforce Title 8 immigration law throughout this nation. Prioritizing national security threats and public safety risks makes sense. But I'll continue to say over and over again, if you are here in the country legally, you're not exempt from our immigration laws. If we encounter you, we'll take appropriate enforcement action. With that, and success that has been made arresting
that's
public
Tom
safety
Homan
threats
there,
and
sort
other
of officially
priorities.
saying that they're going to draw down those the raids that we've seen there. I mean, these made headlines all across the country, but he's also saying that this is not the end of the White House, of the Trump administration's efforts, and maybe surges that could see and could still happen in other states.
Yeah, a couple real quick points here. The initial rationale here was kind of that the Somali fraud case, the billions of dollars that were taken by largely Somali immigrants who defrauded the government. Again, as I said, out of the allegations that they defrauded the government, and that was part of the rationale that the administration used to move into Minneapolis specifically. But also, I think we have to think of this as a potential cudgel that the administration can use in other Democratic-run cities. You know, keep in mind,
a playbook in a sense,
Democratic Governor Tim Walz, Democratic Mayor in Jacob Fry, and so this is, in a way, it could be a playbook, as you said, in other Democratic cities.
Yeah, and we have this tweet there from Governor Tim Walz, who put it out a little while ago. Can't bring it up on the screen, but it's okay. He's essentially saying, "Thank you, Minnesota." So very sort of simple response, 3 words, but that's what the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, is saying. There it is. Thank you, Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz. He posted that at 9:33. Tom Homan made his announcement at 9:30, so you can see these things kind of like all playing out together there. All right, so Robert, thank you very much. I mean, this happened seconds before you came on the air. I know you sort of were able to digest it, but this is a story you've been following, I know, for weeks.
And I lived in Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota for 2 years before I came here, and it was, I mean, tragic to see what was playing out on the streets. They're such a beautiful city, and hopefully on both sides the temperatures can cool down.
Exactly. That's one thing that Homan said. He said that he did have cooperation toward the end from the Democratic-led state, the mayor there, certainly the governor, who have been strong critics. But at this point, the surge of those immigration officers in Minneapolis, that's the breaking news this morning, has come to an end. All right, so that's the end of this segment. Robert, thank you very much.